911, do you have an emergency?
Today on Rescue 911, an empty drainage ditch quickly fills with a torrent of water.
Come on, get out, Kamisha, come on!
Washing away a young girl in its fury.
I thought, my God, she won't make it.
And a young boy's heroic efforts could be her only chance at life. Plus, when carbon monoxide gas takes its toll on a family of 10, one call could make the difference on Rescue 911.
The greatest achievement possible is to save someone's life. By doing so, we're giving other human beings a second chance to pursue their hopes and dreams. I'm William Shatner. Tonight, true stories of compassion, strength, and courage under pressure on Rescue 911. We begin on September 16th, 1991, after a series of heavy rainstorms passed through the city of Arlington, Texas. As the weather cleared, 10-year-old Kamisha Riddle and her friend Ginger Garland headed outside to play.
These storm drains are extremely dangerous because they can fill up very rapidly and they're extremely hard to get in and out of. It occurs occasionally that it'll be raining upstream from you and it'll even be clear overhead. You won't even see a cloud and it just takes a few moments for it to fill up.
My mom said don't go down in the creek because you could get hurt. But we were going to some girl's house. And Kamisha said, let's go into the creek because it's easier to get to that girl's house. I didn't think anything could happen because it didn't look like anything could happen.
This was a lake a few times. How'd you know?
The water started getting higher. And it was scaring me.
Help me! Grab my hand, Kamisha! Come on, get up, Kamisha! Come on! Kamisha, come on, get up! You can do it! Please, Kamisha! Come on!
She was saying, help me, pull me up quick.
Naomi Stevens and her 15-year-old son, Jeff, were in their backyard when they heard the cries for help.
At first, when I heard it, I thought, well, it's just somebody playing. But then in your mind, you wonder, no, that's not it. It was somebody was in trouble.
God, hang on, honey, hang on!
When we made eye contact, I think I felt just sheer terror. And the expression on her face, I don't think I'll ever forget. And my feeling of helplessness, not being able to do anything.
Fire department.
Naomi called 911.
360. 360 and what? Ma'am, I've got to know where it's at.
Okay, I live at 31 Cloverdale.
Okay.
Drainage ditch behind our house.
Behind your house.
A child.
How old is it?
I don't have any idea. I just heard a child screaming. Saw the child going down screaming.
Okay, you did see the child in
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, did it look like a small child or an older?
Probably about 10 or 12.
Don't let anybody get in there with them or we'll have more people to get out.
Okay, babe.
All right, bye.
Bye-bye.
Neighbors Rick and Janice Cook spotted Jeff as he ran by their house.
I know he's in athletics. We just assumed he was racing until his mom ran out the front door. I was running down the street. I was hoping and praying that I'd get down there in time, that I could do something. And I was thinking, I'm not going to make it, I'm not going to make it.
When we continue.
It goes completely under the freeways. With the water moving as fast as it was, I didn't think we'd have time to get to her before she went under.
10-year-old Kamisha Riddle was swept away by a flash flood while walking in a concrete drainage canal near her house. When a 15-year-old boy heard her cries for help, he and some neighbors set out to try and rescue the young girl before she drowned in the swirling waters.
When the creek gets to the 360 intersection, there's 4 large culverts that it's divided into, and it goes completely under the freeways. You can't, even on a bright day, stand on one side of the creek and look and see daylight out the other side. With the water moving as fast as it was, I didn't think we'd have time to get to her before she went under.
Rescuers with the Arlington Fire Department had no way of knowing where the girl was in the storm drain.
I didn't jump in after her because the water was moving too fast, and I probably would have either pulled her under or she would have pulled me under.
And when I get down there, he says, she's already gone under. I thought, my God, she won't make it.
At that point, I didn't think we'd find her alive. There was just too much water, and with the dark in there, I was afraid she had panicked, and that would have been it. I just kind of figured the best place to go would be the last place where she would have to go through.
By this time, I was crying because thinking about the mother of that child. How was she going to feel? What if something did happen? What if they didn't get there quick enough? What if they couldn't pull her out? And it was a very emotional time.
I see her, there she is.
I don't know what she was holding on to, but she was screaming, help me, I can't hold on much longer. There was just no way he could reach her. I mean, it's just too far away. At that point, that's when I told Jeff, I said, well, just let me grab hold of your arm and let me lower you down. She was just in panic. It was just sheer terror on her face. She kind of grabbed a hold of my wrist, and it was a big relief. When we picked her up, and actually I was carrying her, she was still hollering for someone to get her out. She was hollering for help to get her out. So she was just in total hysterics. I had concerns that she had some sort of internal injuries, but I knew I had to keep her as quiet as possible and as still as possible.
Hearing the sound of sirens, Rick drove toward them and managed to get the attention of one of the rescue units. When the young girl's mother, Claudia Riddle, was rushed to the scene, she had no idea what condition her daughter was in.
The ambulance had shut its doors and started to pull away real slow.
Ambulance, pull over to the right.
I started to panic, and I ran up to the side of the ambulance, and one of the paramedics came out, and I was screaming and crying by then, and he said, "Mrs. Riddle, calm down. We need to talk to you." And I thought something had happened to her. And he opened the door. And, hi, Mom, look, I've got Snoopy Band-Aids.
Although the swift-moving waters carried 10-year-old Kamisha down the concrete ditch for several miles, she suffered only minor bruises.
At one part, I just sat there and gave up. Just hope I died because it was scary and I already thought I was going to die, so there's no use trying anymore.
Yeah, wake up.
I think Jeff is a hero because he saved me.
I learned that I'm able to do things that I didn't think that I would ever do. I'm kind of glad I found out that I would be able to help somebody when they need me.
I thought I was going to get my butt busted because I knew I was not supposed to play in the creek, and I did. I think it was dumb.
I have learned not to take things for granted anymore. Because when you come that close to losing somebody you love, it makes you stop and think and appreciate things.
Next.
It was important to keep the kids moving. They kept saying, I can't. And we said, you've got to. This is your life.
On November 7th, 1991, in Roseville, Minnesota, Tom Lang and his wife, Jenny, discovered it could be a fatal mistake to assume we're protected from danger in the comfort of our homes. That morning, their 8 adopted children were at home, asleep in their rooms on the top floor of the house.
I woke about 6 o'clock, just before my alarm was to go off, to the sound of a thud upstairs.
What's going on up there?
Thought perhaps this was one of our restless children who had fallen out of bed. But immediately after that, there was another thud and some crying, and I thought I had to investigate that. By the time I reached the top of the steps, I saw Chuck lying face down in the bathroom.
Chuck? What's wrong? Dana?
I'm just in a kid.
Come on. Dana, you too. Let's get going. Let me help you.
No, I can't.
You can walk.
Can't.
Come on. Atta girl.
I saw Tina in the hall, and I asked her how she was doing, and she said she was sick too.
I don't feel so good either.
My thinking at that time was basically that several kids had the flu, and that isn't unusual to have 3 or 4 kids at a time be sick in our household. A couple of the kids are sick upstairs. You think they have the flu?
I told Tom that I just couldn't get up then because I just felt too nauseated.
I'll take care of it. I was trying to think through what might be going on. Why would so many family members be sick?
Tom, a physician, went to get some Tylenol.
When I got back upstairs, I found Jason lying on the hallway floor.
Jason!
It was at this point that I really became concerned.
Christina? Christina!
And I thought there was more to this perhaps than just the flu.
Thinking there might be a gas leak, Tom went to the basement to check the heaters.
We hadn't been using our pool for about 2 months, but the burner seemed to be going full blast, and I couldn't turn it off. I didn't know what was going on, but I knew that heater shouldn't have been on like that. At this point, I felt a little woozy. As soon as I felt that myself, I became convinced that we were probably poisoned by carbon monoxide.
At 7:05 a.m., a call came into the Ramsey County Sheriff's Department.
This is Dr. Tom Lang.
Yes, sir.
All of us woke up sick this morning. There's a family of 10.
Okay, what do you think the problem is?
We think it's carbon monoxide. I called Ramsey Poison Control Center.
Okay, so how sick is the sickest person there?
We have coordination problems, and they asked us all to come into the gear. I have a van, but I don't think I can drive.
Okay, Mr. Lang, what I'm going to do?
Get my children down from upstairs.
Okay, you keep them awake, and we'll send somebody right over.
Thank you.
All right.
It was important to keep the kids moving and crawling and getting down to the fresh air, because as long as they stayed where they weren't going to be safe.
After my dad had called 911, I was wondering if they were going to be there in time in order to save us. All you're thinking at that moment is, am I going to survive? Are we going to survive as a family?
Rescue units were immediately dispatched, including paramedic Denise DeMars.
Carbon monoxide poisoning is real serious, and it's a cumulative thing. You can get more and more and more, and if you don't get rid of it, you can go into respiratory arrest, cardiac arrest, and you will die from it.
Cindy, come on, you can do it, can't you?
The kids were so sick, we were so sick, you can't stand up, you can't move.
Jenna, you okay?
Mobilizing those kids when they're that way. You hardly have the strength, but yet you know you have to do it. It's like being in a fire, you've got to move.
John,
keep going. They kept saying, I can't, and we said, you've got to, this is your life.
Because of the large number of victims, extra rescue units were sent. Within 10 minutes of the call, rescue workers, including Fire Chief Joel Hewitt, began arriving at the scene.
I immediately got out of the truck with my personnel and I told them to go and systematically search the house from the north end to the south end, looking in the closets, under the beds, in the bathrooms, wherever a person could be. They were all in different stages of consciousness. Some were vomiting, some had severe headaches. And we had just a steady stream of people, firefighters coming down the stairs with victims in their arms.
We knew we were in a race against time. We still had to get them to the hospital fast. We had to treat them fast because if the carbon monoxide isn't cleared from the system, they could have come out with permanent brain damage or permanent damage to their respiratory system or their hearts. These kids were not out of the woods, even though they were out of the house. My job was to try and assess all 10 people at once, see who was the worst. I had them all look at me and said, raise your hand if you think you have to throw up. Raise your hand if you have a headache. That's when I knew that the person who raised their hand all 3 questions was probably in a lot more trouble than the one who only had 2 or maybe 1 symptom. Immediately, we routed them to the Hennepin County Medical Center because they have a decompression chamber there.
County for the hyperbaric chamber.
And then the people who were slightly less affected went first to the Ramsey County Medical Center.
I thought that all of us could have lost our lives within minutes, perhaps seconds. It was just too close.
All 10 family members were treated and released without any sign of permanent injury. Tom and Ginny were treated in the emergency room by Dr. John McGill.
Carbon monoxide poisoning is known as a silent killer. It's colorless, odorless, and tasteless. And if it had occurred early in the night, they may have slept into unconsciousness and death. So I think they're all lucky to be alive.
An investigation showed that the heat exchanger on the pool furnace had corroded, causing dangerous gases to back up inside the house.
If you think that you are suffering from carbon monoxide poisoning, the absolute first thing to do is get out of the area that you're in. The second is to call 911 or certainly get them to the hospital for evaluation.
A month after the incident, the memories of that morning are still vivid for the whole Lang family.
My dad helped us through it all. If he hadn't gone down and checked on the furnace and realized what was going on, I probably would have died.
Way to go! Way to steer, Dana!
I've learned from this experience that we are very vulnerable to our environment. And I hope in some way that my family can be spokespeople for the silent killer that carbon monoxide is.
Holy cow! Oh, I can't believe it.
The rescuers that were here that morning, I'm telling you, I was ready to hug every one of them. They went to their job and they did a superb job. I get goose pimples when I say that because they're great. They're great. They're fantastic.
I think definitely the incident has brought us closer together as a family.
Fine.
It's really, really scary to think that we could have all died that morning, you know.
Mr. Shapiro, step out of the car, please.